So the whole process is starting right back up again. We're talking about the next big stimulus package, which will include a third stimulus check for the American people. You already know that President Joe Biden outlined his ideas a week ago for a $1.9 trillion stimulus bill. We know exactly now when Nancy Pelosi is planning on bringing this to the House. And now we're starting to know the exact thoughts of many different Congress people in the Senate and the House of Representatives. We're going to share all of that with you and give you our thoughts on exactly when all of this is going to go down and finally get hashed out, passed, and then sent off to you. Let's talk about a quote from Roy Blunt, who is a Republican. He said, "I suspect the whole package," he's talking about the $1.9 trillion, "is a non-starter, but it's got plenty of starters in it, and a lot of them are things that we proposed." So what he's saying is the whole package in and of itself is a non-starter, but that doesn't mean that it's going to go to the wayside. There's a bunch of things in there that they can use. So some things in there, like the $15 minimum wage, if you keep that in there, I do not see how you're going to get 10 Republicans in the Senate to vote for that thing, because they're just going to look at the dynamics of the United States of America. They're going to look at the inner cities of California and New York and compare them to the suburbs of Wyoming and Idaho. And they're going to say a $15 minimum wage is not what the federal government should be doing. And it's not something we should include in the stimulus package. That's why it's a non-starter. But there are a lot of things in there that these senators, even Republicans, are willing to go forward with. And he even mentioned aid to the states, which is a good thing. There's what, $350 billion in aid to the states right now? I think that money needs to get to the states. A lot of these states are struggling right now. Certainly many of them have not spent wisely, but clearly they had a pandemic and they've been spending a lot of money on helping people, giving out vaccines, schools, hospitals, all the rest. Money needs to make it to these states. It's good to see that some Republicans are on board with this. However, he did say that the entire bill itself is a non-starter, but we expected that from the beginning. So it doesn't mean this thing's getting shut down. It just means it's not going to get passed as it's exactly stated or written already by Joe Biden. It's going to have to go through some work. We also saw this from a Democratic aide. They said they know they aren't going to get everything in their proposal. That's the whole point here. You're supposed to negotiate. I like that, because that is the whole point. You have a $1.9 trillion bill. The House is going to go through it. Now, the House is probably not going to make it much better for Republicans to swallow. You know, this is a pill that Joe Biden put together. When that pill gets through the House of Representatives and Nancy Pelosi, it might even get a little bigger. It's going to be tougher to swallow when it gets to the Senate. But then it's going to have to be reworked, chopped up, remixed, and all the rest. Stimulus checks are going to stay in that bill, so don't you worry about that. It's just going to have to rework some other things, but they're ready for that, and they understand that that's the process. I thought this was an interesting quote from Susan Collins, who is a Republican from Maine, and she said, "We just passed $900 billion worth of assistance. Why would we have a package that big now? Maybe a couple of months from now." So here's the thing that I would say to Susan Collins. It's going to take a couple of months to pass this thing. That's why you start now. It's not something that you're going to just throw through the House and throw through the Senate and then President Joe Biden's going to sign it. It's going to have to be reworked. It's going to be agony. You've seen it. You have been here. Many of you have been with me now for almost a year. You've seen the agony of these stimulus packages and how they go back and forth, and there's arguing and blaming, and eventually something gets through. It's not always the best for the American people, but it's something. It's some help, and this time it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be a back and forth, and it's going to take a few months in order to do it. We've already been telling you that. So when is Nancy Pelosi actually planning on putting this on the House floor? This is directly from Nancy Pelosi. She said this: "We will be doing committee work all next week." She's talking about the 25th to the 30th. So they're not bringing it to the House floor next week. She then said, "So we are completely ready to go to the floor when we get back, which is February 1st. So look for Nancy Pelosi and the House of Representatives to get real serious about this next stimulus package on February 1st. I think they're going to bring it to the floor. They're going to start to discuss it and debate it. They're going to start to write it. It's going to be thousands of pages like we've seen in the past. They're going to put the whole thing together. It's going to be interesting to see what they keep in it and what they keep out of it. Are they going to try to make it a bipartisan bill in the House of Representatives before it hits the Senate? Or are they going to keep everything in there that they want, generally as Democrats, and then just shove it over to the Senate and then expect them to deal with the issues that they're going to have there? If you want to follow that with us, consider subscribing to the channel. And then, of course, it's going to go over to the Senate. I think it's going to take the House at least 2 weeks to deal with working it out, writing it, and passing it. So right around February 15th is where you're going to see this thing fly over to the Senate, where it's going to have a very tough battle. We already know that Mitch McConnell McConnell and Chuck Schumer are having issues. Because it's a 50-50 split, they're supposed to share some power and work out an agreement on how things can run smoothly in the Senate, although Chuck Schumer is the majority leader because you have the presidency in charge of Democrats. They're still supposed to come up with some agreement. And one of the things Mitch McConnell does not want to happen is he does not want the Democrats to bring up a vote on ending the filibuster. The filibuster is something that's been in the Senate for hundreds of years. However, I don't think it's necessarily right that Mitch McConnell is saying he wants veto rights on not having the filibuster anymore. If that goes to the floor in the Senate, it should be voted on. Guess what? If you're going to end the filibuster, you need to get at least 60 votes for it. So if the Republicans don't vote for it, you're not going to be able to end the filibuster anyway. I don't think it's something Mitch McConnell should even be bringing it up. But what does this go to show you? It shows you that in the Senate, there's going to be a hard-fought battle over the next economic stimulus relief bill. We're already seeing it happen. So when this thing goes to the Senate, Chuck Schumer is going to get it, and he is going to put it to the Senate floor. Is it going to get the 60 votes? I highly doubt it. If they keep in some of those things that are real non-starters in that bill in the House of Representatives, it is not going to pass. But that is okay because we're expecting that to happen like we saw on all of the previous stimulus bills. It's going to get reworked. Things are going to be taken out. Things are going to be put in. It's going to be negotiated. The number's probably going to come down. It's probably going to be between a $900 billion and $1.5 trillion bill. It's likely to include stimulus payments to the American people, unemployment help, more help for vaccines, aid to states, and it's probably going to strip out a number of other things that cannot get bipartisan approval. This is the latest on everything right now. So we have a week coming up where there's not going to be much happening. Congress people are going to come out with their thoughts and opinions, but February 1st, this is going to hit the Senate floor. I know many of you need this very soon. You need that extra $1,400. I get it, and we will keep our eyes on this. As fast as they proceed through the government process with this, we can let you know how it's rolling down the line and what the future of this thing looks like. But right now, I do think it looks good. It's just going to take time. It's going to take time. It's one of those things that I believe it's going to make it through, just like I've said about the past stimulus checks. And they did make it through. It just took a lot of effort and time and fighting and back and forth. We're going to see the same thing here. So if you're able to hold on until sometime in March, I think end of March or so, is when you should expect to see this thing go through, then you'll be okay, obviously. But that would be my expectation. So if you're budgeting, if you're planning, don't plan out for a stimulus check to hit your account in another 3 or 4 or 5 weeks from this new bill. Just don't plan on it. You got to give yourself months down the line to plan on this thing, because that's the back and forth we're going to see. I hope this information was good for you. We will continue to keep you up to date as always. I will catch you next time.